Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are watching this, and welcome to the second episode of my podcast, The Light Program. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about the Enneagram. So the Enneagram is an ancient personality typing system, and it draws its name from two Greek words. The first is Ennea. Ennea is Greek for 9. And the second word is Gramma. Gramma means that which is drawn. And so the reason it's called Enneagram is that the 9 personality types are usually depicted in a diagram and shown in relationship to each other. And so this episode is going to be an introduction to the Enneagram, to give you some of the basics, to give you some of the starting points. And then over the course of future episodes, I'm going to come in and go a little bit deeper and then go through the different personality types. So where did it come from? It came obviously from ancient Greece. It came via Alexandria. It came via the Sufis. And in modern times, it was first popularized by a guy called Gurdjieff. And Gurdjieff was an Armenian. He had originally Greek background. He was a philosopher. He was a mystic. He was a spiritual teacher. Not only that, he wrote music and also taught movement. And in fact, when I say wrote music, particularly ballets. So that's this wonderful mix of movement and music. And he traveled extensively in Central Asia, in Tibet, in northern India, all those places, and brought back a lot of wisdom and began teaching it. And then this was kind of starting just before the First World War, 1912 or thereabouts, and continued in various places, moving around a bit because of the Russian Revolution and the geopolitical circumstances. And was subsequently taken up by a guy called Oscar Ichazo, a Bolivian, and Claudio Naranjo from Chile. And those two people have brought us our current understanding of the Enneagram from Gurdjieff's teachings. So why would we want to learn about the Enneagram? Well, for each personality type, the Enneagram tells us our strengths, our weaknesses, how our personality changes under stress and under success, and influences that our personality derives from the personality types on either side. Those are called the wings. So it's very useful, particularly to help find, how to make the most of our success, and also how to head off potential sabotage, what we might be doing that will be putting off our end results. So now that we've covered why it's useful, let's have a look at the Enneagram itself. And in a minute, my face is going to go away and you will see a picture of the Enneagram. And here it is. And so you can see that at the top of the Enneagram, in the middle triangle, middlemost triangle, you'll see a number 9. And so you see at that level all the way round, it goes 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see these are the Enneagram types, and above each type is the name of that type. And some of the types, different systems, they have different names. So, for example, number 5, which is me, in this particular diagram, it's called the Investigator. Many systems will call it the Observer. Okay. So we've got the 9 types. We've got their names. Now, the next aspect that you can see is this outer circle, their main way of operating. So, challengers like to act. I often call them the bosses, the number 8s. They're really dominant people. Even peacemakers like to act in a more peaceful way to create that peace. Reformers like to act to get things right. And then we have helpers at number 2. They feel what other people need and address their needs to keep them satisfied. The achiever is similar but different. It's more outward going attempt to keep somebody outside satisfied. And so they create amazing things because they're feeling into what other people want from them. And the individual is very more different. They're more feeling into the world itself and what's going on there. Then we have the thinkers, the observers, the individualists in this diagram, the loyalists, and the enthusiasts. Wonderful people, the enthusiasts, but they can get carried away. They can pull you places where you, I want to go there, but I don't want to go there quite this quickly. That sort of energy. And so the other thing is that within these groups of types, we also have the acting group. When they are under stress, they will often go to frustration, they'll go to anger. And things are never quite right for them, and they've always got to bring things back into control so that things feel better. The feelers, and they will go to disappointment and depression ultimately. And depression is often like a long-term form of anger. So if anger is like being put in prison for a month because you did something wrong, depression is being put in prison for a lifetime with no prospect of ever getting out. So that's where anger and depression relate. These people, they can be lovely people, but at the same time, they can tend to depression under stress. And the thinkers tend to fear. You know, if you've ever heard of people overthinking, that's a bit of a fear reaction. Fear brings up the fight or flight mechanism, and those of us that are thinkers will often feel the fears very deeply. And this comes down to a lot of lack, a lot of neediness that comes from fear of loss. So those are the Enneagram types at a high level. We will go into them more deeply in further episodes, okay? Each one, we'll have a look at each of them. So to wrap up, I'm going to give you a few ideas. First of all, it's important to understand we all have an Enneagram type, and there's not one that's better than the other. They're all equal. Although I often add an Orwellian note to that some types are more equal than others. So we all have one. We're all guided by core desires and core beliefs. Learning about our Enneagram types and learning about other people's Enneagram types, it can help us understand, why they're reacting, how they're reacting, what their overt agenda is, what their hidden agendas may be, and so create more productive, more beneficial relationships with them. And likewise with ourselves, knowing what lights us up, knowing how we behave and react when we encounter some stress is really helpful. So that's why we're looking at Enneagrams. So looking forward to seeing you next time, and wherever you are, have a great day, have a great evening, have a great week.